ಹಲೋ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಟು ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕನ್ನಡ. ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ICT ಮೇಲೆ 2ನೇ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ICTಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಟಾಪಿಕ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮೊದಲು ನೀವೇನಾದರೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಆ್ಯಪನ್ನು ಇನ್ನೂ ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ನೀವು ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಟೋರ್ಗೆ ವಿಸಿಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಆ್ಯಪನ್ನು ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೋದು. ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ಸನ್ನು ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಈ ಒಂದು ಲೋಗೋವನ್ನು ನೋಡಿ ನೀವು ಆ್ಯಪನ್ನು ಡೌನ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಅದಾದ ನಂತರ ನೀವು ಏನಾದರೂ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಎಲಿಜಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇಪರ್ 1 ಕ್ರಾಶ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗಲು ಬಯಸಿದರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಲೈವ್ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇವೆ. ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ MCQs ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇವೆ. ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟೀಸ್ MCQs ಸೆಟ್ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇವೆ. ಇದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ 50ಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಮಾಕ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ಗಳು ಲಭ್ಯ ಇವೆ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಯೂನಿಟ್ನ ಮೇಲೆ ನೋಟ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಲಭ್ಯವಿದೆ. ಇದ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಇಯರ್ MCQs ವಿಡಿಯೋಸ್ ಮತ್ತು PDF ಕೂಡ ಲಭ್ಯ ಇವೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕನ್ನಡ 2 ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಲಭ್ಯವಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫೀಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ ಬಂದುಬಿಟ್ಟು ತುಂಬಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ, ಕೇವಲ 2000 ರೂಪೀಸ್. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕೋರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಜಾಯ್ನ್ ಆಗಲು ಈ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ವಾಟ್ಸಪ್ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು. ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಮೂವ್ ಟು ದಿ ಟುಡೇಸ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್. ಟುಡೇಸ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಇಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್. ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಒಂದು ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಈ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳ ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. So when it comes to a computer it is a device that transforms data into meaningful information. So as you all know, in our previous lecture we have studied computer. It is going to collect the information from the input devices. Yes, person or people are going to give information to the computer by using input devices, and computer it is going to translate it into meaningful information by and it will present the meaningful information by using output devices. So ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಇದೊಂದು ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇದು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ದತ್ತಾಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ಫುಲ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾನವನ ಬಳಕೆಗೆ ಬರುವಂತೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳನ್ನಾಗಿ ನಮಗೆ ನೀಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ಮಾನವ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಚ್ಚಾ ದತ್ತಾಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ನೀಡುವಾಗ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸನ್ನು ಬಳಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಮಾನವರಿಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಮೀನಿಂಗ್ಫುಲ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ನ ನೀಡುವಾಗ ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. So it processes the input according to the set of instructions provided it by the user and gives the desired output. So here the person or the computer user is going to give instructions to the computer, and the computer is going to act according to the instructions given by the user. Then it is going to give us desired output. So ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾನವರು ನೀಡುವ ನಿರ್ದೇಶನಗಳ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸಿ ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದ ಈ ಒಂದು ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ಟನ್ನು ನೀಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. So computers are of various types and they can be categorized into 2 ways, on the basis of size and on the basis of data handling capabilities. So on the basis of computer size and also on the basis of data handling capacity, we can divide the computer into many types. So the first one is on the basis of size. So ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನ ಗಾತ್ರದ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರನ್ನು ಈ ರೀತಿಯೊಂದು ವರ್ಗೀಕರಣ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್, ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೇನ್ ಫ್ರೇಮ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್, ಥರ್ಡ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ಮಿನಿ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್, ದೆನ್ ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್, ದೆನ್ ದ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ personal computer. So these are the types of computer on the basis of size. And on the basis of data handling capacity, we can divide the computers into analog computer, digital computer, and also hybrid computer. So these are the various types of computers. ಇವು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಟೈಪ್ಸ್ಗಳಾಗಿವೆ. So let us discuss one by one. Here the first one is supercomputer. So supercomputer means they are biggest and fastest computers in the terms of speed of processing the data. So these were very big in size and these were used to process the data very fast. ಸೊ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳು ಅತಿ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಗಾತ್ರದ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳಾಗಿದ್ದವು ಮತ್ತು ಇವು ದತ್ತಾಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಅತಿ ವೇಗವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವು. ಸೊ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ಡ್ ಸಚ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಅ ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಡೇಟಾ, like processing trillions of instructions or data just in a second. So these supercomputer process trillions of data in a second. So these computers were very fast and these computers were used to process huge amount of data. ಸೊ ಈ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಗಾತ್ರದ ದತ್ತಾಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಲು ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡಲಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ಟ್ರಿಲಿಯನ್ಸ್ ದತ್ತಾಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇವಲ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ತುಂಬ ವೇಗವಾದ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳು ಈ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳಾಗಿದ್ದವು. So this is because of the thousands of interconnected processors in supercomputer. So ಇದು ಯಾಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ವಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಇದರ ಒಂದೇ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಇಂಟರ್ಕನೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಥೌಸಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ processors were interconnected with this supercomputer. Then it is basically used in scientific and engineering applications, and such as weather forecasting, scientific simulations, nuclear energy research. So in all these for all these purposes supercomputers will be used. So ಈ ವೆದರ್ ಫೋರ್ಕಾಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಈ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ಮತ್ತು ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡಲಾಗ್ತದೆ. And it was first developed by Roger Cray in 1976. So please remember the supercomputers were first developed by Roger Cray in 1976. So next let us see some characteristics of supercomputer. Here supercomputers are the computer which are the fastest and they were very expensive. So these computers are very fast and also very expensive. So ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ವೇಗವಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ನಿರ್ವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವು ಮತ್ತು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ವೆಚ್ಚದಾಯಕ ಕೂಡ ಆಗಿದ್ದವು. And supercomputer can calculate trillions of data individual calculations per second. This is also the reason which makes it even more faster. So these computers were very fast in the processing of the data. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರು ತುಂಬಾ ವೇಗವಾದ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳಾಗಿದ್ದವು. And it is used in the stock market or big organizations for managing the online currency world such as Bitcoin etc. So ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಈ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಬಿಟ್ಕಾಯಿನ್ ಕರೆನ್ಸಿ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡಲಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್. ಸೊ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಸೆಂಟರ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸೂಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನ ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸೋಲಾರ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ, ದೆನ್ ಸ್ಯಾಟಲೈಟ್ಗಳ ಸೆಂಟರ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. So the next let us move to the mainframe computer. So mainframe computers are designed in such a way that it can support hundreds or thousands of users at the same time. So please remember it, mainframe computers are going to support hundreds or thousands of users at the same time. So ಇವು ನೂರಾರು ಅಥವಾ ಸಾವಿರಾರು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಬಳಕೆದಾರರನ್ನ at same time ನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡುವಂತೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. So it also supports multiple programs simultaneously. So mainframe computers will also support multiple programs at the same time, means simultaneously, and they can execute different processes simultaneously. So at the ಒಂದೇ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಹಲವಾರು ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. They can execute different processes simultaneously. And all these features make the mainframe computer ideal for big organizations. Yes, for example by banking, telecom sectors. Yes, these mainframe computers will be used. ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಟೆಲಿಕಾಮ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇವುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ mainframe ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡಲಾಗ್ತದೆ. So the next one is mini computers. Mini computers. Mini computers means it is a medium size multi-processing computer. Yes, the size of the mini computers were medium, and these were also used for multi-process purpose. So this is also multi-processing computer, and in this type of computer there are 2 or more processors, and it supports 4 to 200 users at one time. So in mini computers 2 or more processors were used here, and also it is supporting 4 to 200 users at the same time. ಸೊ ಇವು ಒಂದೇ ಸಮಯಕ್ಕೆ 400 to 200 ಯೂಸರ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2ಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡಲಾಗ್ತದೆ. So mini computers are used in place like institutions, departments like building department, accounting department, inventory management department, etc. And it is smaller than mainframe computers. So these computers are smaller than mainframe computers, but larger in the comparison to the microcomputers. As compared to microcomputer, these were large, and compared to mainframe computer, these were small. Then let us see some characteristics of mini computers. The first one is, here the weight was very low compared to mainframe computer and supercomputer. The weight of mini computers were very small. Yes, very low. Mini computer ಒಂದು weight ತುಂಬ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇತ್ತು. Because of its low weight, it is easy to carry anywhere, so we can take it anywhere. And these computers are also less expensive compared to mainframe computer, and this all here also the process was very fast. So the next, let us move to the workstation computer. So here workstation is designed for technical or scientific applications. So these computers were used for technical purposes or scientific application purposes. And it consists of fast microprocessor with large amount of RAM and high speed of graphic adapter. So please remember these things about workstation. These were having fast microprocessor, large amount of RAM, random access memory, and high speed of graphic adapter. And it is single user computer. Please remember workstation is a single user computer, and it is generally used to perform specific tasks with great accuracy. When we need more and more accuracy on a single task, we are using workstation. Then there are some characteristics of workstation. It is expensive or high in cost. So idu kuda ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಬೆಲೆ ಉಳ್ಳದ್ದಾಗಿದೆ. They are exclusively made for complex work purpose. ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಠಿಣವಾದ ಕೆಲಸಗಳಿಗೆ ಈ ವರ್ಕ್ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡಲಾಗುತ್ತದೆ. It provides large storage capacity with better graphics and more powerful CPU when compared to personal computers. Yes, the large storage capacity was very large in workstation. And it is also used to handle animation, data analysis, CAD, audio, video creation, and editing. For all these purposes, workstations will be used. So then the next type of computer is PC, personal computer. So personal computer, it is also known as the microcomputer. So personal computer ಗೆ ನಾವು microcomputer ಅಂತಾನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ, and it is basically general purpose computer and designed for individual use. So these personal computers were general purpose computers, and these were used for individual use. And it consists of microprocessor as a CPU, central processing unit, memory, input unit, and also output units. These kind of computers is suitable for personal work, such as making an assignment, watching a movie, or at office for office work, etc. So all personal computers means these are used for various purposes, and it consists of CPU, memory, input units, and output units. So this is about personal computer. So for example, desktop, laptop. Then characteristics of personal computer. There are some characteristics here. In this, limited number of software can be used. So we can use limited number of softwares. ಕಡಿಮೆ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ಸೈಜ್, ಗಾತ್ರವು ಕೂಡ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದೆ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಸೈನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಪರ್ಸನಲ್ ಯೂಸ್, and it is easy to use. So these are some characteristics of personal computer. Next, let us move to the analog computer. So the next type of the computer is analog computer. So it is particularly designed to process analog data. So if you want to process analog data, then we can use analog computers. And continuous data that can changes continuously and cannot have discrete values is called analog data. So analog data means these data are data which are continuous change and cannot have discrete values. These are called analog data. So the data which are continuous, always continuously changing, and these data are not in discrete form. So those data are known as the discrete data. So sorry, analog data. And to process analog data, we are using analog computers. And so analog computer is used where we don't need exact values or need approximate values such as speed, temperature, etc. So if we need approximate values, we can use analog computers. So it can directly accept the data from the measuring device without first converting it into numbers and codes. So this you have to remember here. Analog computer, these are going to accept the data directly from the measuring device. These computers will not convert the data first into numbers and codes. Yes, actually the computers will convert the data into numbers or codes, then it will give the output. But these analog computers, these are going to take the receive the data from measuring device, and they are directly going to give to the output or showing it as. So these first will not convert the data into numbers and codes. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳು ಮೊದಲು ಮಾನವ ಜನರು ನೀಡಿರುವ ಈ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಬಳಸಿ ನೀಡಿರುವ ದತ್ತಾಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಮೊದಲು ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕೋಡ್ಗಳಾಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಂತರ ನಮಗೆ ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ನೀಡುತ್ತವೆ. ಆದರೆ ಅನಲಾಗ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಇವು ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಮೆಜರಿಂಗ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ನಿಂದ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಪಡೆದು ನಮಗೆ ಔಟ್ಪುಟನ್ನು ನೀಡುತ್ತವೆ. ಇದು ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕೋಡ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಮೆಜರ್ಸ್ ದ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಯಸ್ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಇನ್ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಕ್ವಾಂಟಿಟಿ. It gives output as a reading on a dial or scale. For example, as you all know, speedometer, mercury, thermometer. Yes, thermometer and speedometer, these are the examples for analog computers. The next one is digital computer. Digital computers are designed in such a way that it can easily perform calculations and logical operations at high speed. So here the calculation is very fast in digital computer, and it takes raw data as an input and processes it with programs stored in its memory to produce the final output. So these data are going to take information as a raw data from input devices, and these will processes with by using so many programs and stored in its memory. Then it is going to produce the final output. Such computers are known as the digital computers. It only understands the binary input, that is 0 and 1. So this is going to understand only binary input such as 0 and 1. It means here after taking the data, these data are going to convert into binary, then it will give the output. But in case of analog computer, these are directly going to accept the data from measuring device, and they will give the result. And these analog computers will not convert the data into numbers and codes. But when it comes to digital computers, it understands only binary input 0 and 1. So the raw input is converted to 0 and 1 by the computer, and then it is processed by the computer to produce the result. So here the data are converted into 0 and 1. Those are binary unit input. So these are known as the digital computer. ಇವುಗಳಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗಳಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಹಿಯರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಬರುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಮಾಡರ್ನ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್, ಡೆಸ್ಕ್ಟಾಪ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಮಾರ್ಟ್ಫೋನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಸ್. So the next type of computer is hybrid computer. Hybrid computer, it is a combination of both analog computer and digital computer. So analog computer ಮತ್ತೆ digital computer ಎರಡು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, hybrid computer. So hybrid computers are fast like analog computer. Yes, these are working fast like analog computers and have memory and accuracy like digital computers. So in digital computers we see more and more accuracy, but hybrid computers combinations of both means these are working very fast like analog computer and also giving accuracy result with very more accuracy like digital computers. These computers are known as the hybrid computers. It has the ability to process both continuous data and also discrete data. Please remember this point. Hybrid computers will process both continuous and discrete data. So for working, when it accepts analog signals as input, then it converts them into digital form before processing the input data. So when the hybrid computers are going to accept signals from inputs, first they will convert them into digital form, then they will process the input data to give the result. So it is widely used in specialized applications where both analog and digital data are required. So if you want to process both analog data and digital data, then we can use hybrid computers. A processor which is used in petrol pumps that converts the measurement of fuel flow into quantity and price. It is an example of hybrid computer. The next topic is computer memory. So computer memory, it is the storage space in the computer. So computer memory, it is nothing but the storage space in the computer. where data is to be processed and instructions required for processing are stored here. So in computer memory, whatever we are storing the data to be processed and also instructions required for this process are stored here. So ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳನ್ನು ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಲು ಎಸ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಏನೇನು ನೀಡಬೇಕು ಆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಈ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿಡಲಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಮೆಮೊರಿ is divided into large number of small parts. These parts are known as the cells. Please remember it. The memory is divided into large number of small parts and these parts are known as the cells. ಈ ಒಂದು ಮೆಮೊರಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸಣ್ಣ ಸಣ್ಣ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಗಳಾಗಿ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. So each location or cell has a unique address. So every cell will be having a unique address which varies from 0 to memory size -1. Please remember here the size of the cell is 0 to -1. So here you can see the example. For example, if the computer has 64k words, then this memory unit has 64 into 1024. That is 65536 memory locations. And these address location the address of these locations varies from 0 to 6535. It means that, for example, here the computer is having 64k words. It means that the memory unit of the computer is 64 into 1024, that is 65536. It means these are the memory locations and the address can vary from 0 to 65535. So just remember it enough. And this you have to remember here. Cells means these are the memory which is divided into large number of small parts. It is known as the cells, and each location or cell has unique address, and this unique address is varying from 0 to memory size -1. Yes, memory is primarily of three types. One is cache memory, second one is primary memory, or it is also known as the main memory, and the next one is secondary memory. So let us start with one by one. The first one is cache memory. So cache memory, it is very high speed semiconductor memory which can speed up the CPI. So cache memory means it is very high speed semiconductor memory, and it is help to run CPU very fast. ಸೊ ಕ್ಯಾಶಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿ ಇದು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಹೈ ಸ್ಪೀಡ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಮತ್ತು ಇದು CPU ಅನ್ನು ಸ್ಪೀಡಾಗಿ ರನ್ ಮಾಡಲು ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Then it acts as a buffer between the CPU and the main memory. So cache memory it is going to act as a buffer between main memory and CPU, and it is used to hold those parts of data and program which are almost frequently used by the CPU. So yes, the data which are again and again used by the CPU, those data are stored in cache memory. ಯಾವ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳನ್ನು CPU ಪದೇ ಪದೇ ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕ್ಯಾಶ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗ್ತದೆ. And the parts of data and programs are transferred from the disk to cache memory by the operating system, from where the CPU can access them. So in this way, the data or programs which are used frequently, these are transferred from disk to cache memory by using the operating system, and CPU can directly access it. So there are some advantages of cache memory. Cache memory is faster than the main memory. Please remember it. Cache memory ಇದು ಮೇನ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿಗಿಂತ ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. And cache memory consumes less access time as compared to the main memory, and it stores the program that can be executed within a short period of time. Yes, we need very short period of time to run the program which is saved in cache memory. And it stores data for temporary use. This you have to remember. Cache memory stores the data for temporary use. So ಇದು ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಸಮಯದವರೆಗೆ ದತ್ತಾಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. And there are also some disadvantages. One is cache memory has limited capacity. ಇದರ ಒಂದು ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ತುಂಬ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. It is very expensive also. ಇದು ತುಂಬ ವೆಚ್ಚದಾಯಕ ಕೂಡ ಆಗಿದೆ. So this is about cache memory. And the next one is primary memory, or it is also known as the main memory. Primary memory holds only those data and instructions which the computer is currently using. Yes, this you have to remember. Yes, the data or the programs which are or instructions which are currently using, those data will be held by ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿ. ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಡೇಟಾ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಕರೆಂಟಾಗಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇವೆ ಅಂಥ ದತ್ತಾಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿ ಹೊಂದಿರ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ. ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿ is also having limited capacity and data is lost when the power is switched off. Yes, if the computer is off or if the power goes, so then you will lose this data which is there in the main memory. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಸಾರಿ ಪವರ್ ಆಫ್ ಆದರೆ, ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಬಂದ್ ಆದರೆ, ಸೊ ಈ ಒಂದು ಮೇನ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿಯಲ್ಲಿರುವ ದತ್ತಾಂಶವನ್ನು ನೀವು ಕಳೆದುಕೊಳ್ತೀರಿ. So it is generally made up of semiconductor devices. Please remember, primary memory is made up of semiconductor devices. These memories are not passed as registers. So ಇವು ರೆಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ಗಳ ಥರ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಫಾಸ್ಟಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. And the data and instruction required to be processed resides in the main memory. Yes, the data and instructions which are required for processing, it will be there in the main memory only. And main memory is divided into two subcategories. One is RAM and another one is ROM, random access memory, read only memory. Please remember, ಈ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿಯನ್ನು ಎರಡು ಪ್ರಕಾರಗಳಾಗಿ ವಿಂಗಡಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಒಂದು ರ್ಯಾಂಡಮ್ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ರೀಡ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿ. ಸೊ ಇವು ಎರಡರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ದೆನ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೇನ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ ಸಮ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್. ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿ is made up of semiconductors. It is also known as the main memory, and it is volatile memory. Volatile means once the power goes, then you will lose the data. Then data is lost in case of power is switched off. And it is the working memory of the computer. Yes, please remember it. Sometime question may arise. Idu working memory of the computer. So this is working memory of the computer. Yava computer start irtade avaga idu work ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Faster than secondary memory. Yes, this also you have to remember. Main memory is faster than secondary memory. A computer cannot run without the primary memory. Yes, please remember this. ಇದನ್ನು ನೆನಪಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡಬೇಕು. ಮೇನ್ ಮೆಮರಿ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಕೆನಾಟ್ ರನ್ ವಿದೌಟ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಮೆಮರಿ. Then let us move to the secondary memory. So this secondary memory, it is also known as the external memory, and it is non-volatile. If power goes in the middle, so you won't lose the data. So it is known as the external memory. So it is lower than the main memory, and these are used for storing the data and information permanently. ನೀವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಸಮಯದವರೆಗೆ ದತ್ತಾಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ ಆವಾಗ ನೀವು ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿಯನ್ನು ಬಳಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ. ಸೊ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿ ಆರ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಟು ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ದ ಡೇಟಾ ಫಾರ್ permanent. Then CPU directly does not access these memories. Please remember, primary CPU directly access the data which is there in cache memory and primary memory, but CPU directly does not access the data which is there in secondary memory. Instead, they are accessed via input output routines. The contents of secondary memories are first transferred to the main memory, and then the CPU can access it. Yes, if you want to use the data which is there in secondary memory, first it is translated to main memory, then first it is transferred to main memory, then the CPU can access it. ಸೊ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿಯಲ್ಲಿರುವ ದತ್ತ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಮೊದಲು ಈ ದತ್ತ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಮೇನ್ ಮೆಮೊರಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗ್ತದೆ, ನಂತರ CPU ಈ ಒಂದು ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಆಲ್ ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತೇ ಇದೆ, ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಈ CD ರೋಮ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, DVD ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಎಸ್, ಇವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನಾಗಿವೆ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿಗಳಾಗಿವೆ. ಪೆನ್ ಡ್ರೈವ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. So characteristics of secondary memory. So these are magnetic and optical memories. So please remember, these are magnetic and optical memories, and it is also known as the backup memory, and it is non-volatile memory. Yes, remember, this is non-volatile memory. So if power goes, you won't lose the data, and data is permanently stored even if power is switched off. Yes, here in secondary memory the data is saving for permanent. It is used for storage of data in a computer, and computer may run without the secondary memory. Please remember, computer cannot run without primary memory, but computer can run without the secondary memory, and slower than primary memory. So these are the some characteristics of secondary memory. Now let us see some differences between primary memory and secondary memory. So primary memory is categorized as volatile and non-volatile memory. Yes, but secondary memory, it is always non-volatile only. Please remember, primary memory we can divide into volatile and non-volatile, but secondary memory is always non-volatile. Primary memory, these memories are also called internal memory. Yes, primary memory is also known as the internal memory. Secondary memory is known as the backup memory or auxiliary memory or additional memory. And in primary memory, data is directly accessed by the CPU, but here data cannot be accessed directly by the processor. First it is copied from secondary memory to primary memory, then only CPU can access it. And primary, it's mean primary memory is volatile. It's volatile memory, meaning it means that it's a volatile memory, meaning data cannot be retained in case of power failure. So when the power goes, you will lose the data which is stored in primary memory, but secondary memory is non-volatile. It means that even after power failure you won't lose any data. And primary memory, it holds data or information that is currently being used by the processing unit. Capacity is usually 16 to 32 GB, and secondary memory, it stores substantial amount of data or any information. Capacity generally from 200 GB to terabytes. Primary memory can be accessed by the data bus. Secondary memory accessed by input output channels. Primary memory is costlier than secondary memory. Secondary memory is cheaper than primary memory. So these are the some differences between primary memory and secondary memory. Now let us discuss about RAM and ROM. RAM stands for random access memory. So RAM is the internal memory of the CPU for storing the data, program, and also program the result. So in this way, RAM is one internal memory agide. It is read and write memory which stores the data until the machine is working. If the power goes, if something happened to the machine, then you will lose the data. So elli tanaka computer work ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಈ ಒಂದು data store ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. As soon as the machine is switched off, data is erased. ಒಂದು ಸಾರಿ machine off ಆದರೆ ಈ ಒಂದು data ಕೂಡ erase ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. So access time in RAM is independent of the address that each storage location inside the memory is as easy to reach as other locations. Take the same amount of time. This much you remember here. Enough. RAM stands for random access memory. It is internal memory of the CPU, and it is read and write memory. And once the machine gets off or switched off or power goes, you will lose the data. It means it is volatile. And data in the RAM can be accessed randomly, but it is very expensive. Remember, RAM is expensive, and RAM is volatile. It means data which is stored in random access memory is lost when we switch off the computer or there is a power failure. ಒಂದು ಸಾರಿ ನಾವು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಈ ರ್ಯಾಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಕಳೆದುಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಹೆನ್ಸ್ a backup uninterruptible power system. UPS is often used with computers, so we are using UPS with the computers, with the uninterruptible power system. Please remember the abbreviation, uninterruptible power system, UPS, as you all know. So one power hodrunu kuda UPS on idre computer off agalla. So RAM is small both in terms of physical size and also in the amount of data it can hold. So the very limited amount of data can be stored in RAM. And there are two types of RAM. Remember, the types of RAM are, one is static RAM, it is SRAM, and another is dynamic RAM. Yes, DRAM. Yes, static RAM and dynamic RAM. So static RAM, the word static indicates that the memory retains its contents as long as power is being supplied. So ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಪವರ್ ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಯ ತನಕ ಈ ಒಂದು ಎಸ್ ರ್ಯಾಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ದತ್ತಾಂಶ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. However, data is lost when the power gets down due to the volatile nature. When the power goes, the data will be lost, which is there in the static RAM. ಒಂದು ಸಾರಿ ಪವರ್ ಕಟ್ ಆದರೆ ಎಸ್ ರ್ಯಾಮ್ನಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಕಳೆದುಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಎಸ್ ರ್ಯಾಮ್ ಚಿಪ್ಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ಡ್ ಅ ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ರಿಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ 6 transistors and no capacitors. Please remember, there are no capacitors in SRAM. It is using only matrix of 6 transistors. Transistors do not require power to prevent leakage, so SRAM need not be replaced on a regular basis. So no need to replace the static RAM. And there is extra space in the matrix, hence SRAM uses more chips than DRAM for the same amount of storage space, making the manufacturing cost higher. So the static RAM is very higher cost because it is using matrix, and SRAM uses more chips than DRAM. SRAM is thus used as cache memory and has very fast access. So SRAM we are going to use as cache memory. So it is very fast. So there are some characteristics of static RAM. One is long life, no need to refresh, faster, used as cache memory, then large in size, expensive, high power consumption. So these are some characteristics of static RAM. So next let us discuss about dynamic RAM, that is DRAM. DRAM unlike RAM and DRAM, dynamic RAM unlike static RAM must be continually refreshed in order to maintain the data. So we have to refresh the dynamic RAM again and again, but no need to refresh the SRAM. So this is done by placing the memory on a refresh circuit that rewrites the data several hundred times per second. As you all know, just here we are going to refresh it again and again. And DRAM is used for most system memory as it is cheap and small. So compared to SRAM, DRAM is cheap and it is small. And all DRAMs are made up of memory cells which are composed of one capacitor and one transistor. Please remember, in SRAM there is no capacitor and there are only transistors, but in DRAM there is one capacitor and also one transistor. And the characteristics of dynamic RAM: short data lifetime, needs to be refreshed continuously, slower as compared to SRAM, used as RAM, smaller in size, less expensive, less power consumption. So these are the characteristics of dynamic. ROM stands for read only memory, the memory from which we can only read but cannot write. It is known as the ROM. So but in RAM we can read and write, but in ROM we can only read it, we can't edit the information. So this type of memory is non-volatile. So if the power goes, we don't lose the data. The information is stored for permanently, but in RAM the information is stored for temporary, but in ROM information is stored for permanently. A ROM stores such instructions that are required to start a computer. So ROM is going to store the instructions that which are required to start the computer. This operation is also referred as bootstrap. So please remember, sometime you may get a question, what is bootstrap? Yes, ROM is storing the information that which is required to start the computer. This operation is known as bootstrap. So ROM chips are not only used in the computers but also in other electronic items like washing machine, microwave, oven and all. So there are some advantages of ROM. ROM is non-volatile and cannot be accidentally changed, and ROM is cheaper than RAM, easy to test, more reliable than RAM, and static and do not require refreshing. For ROM no need to refresh it again and again. Contents are always known and can be verified in ROM. There are some types of ROMs. The first one is MROM. It means masked ROM. Please remember, masked ROM, read only memory. The very first read only memory is, that is masked read only memory, where hardwired hardwired devices that contain a pre-programmed set of data. So please remember, in masked ROM it is already contained preset of data or preset of instructions. These kind of ROMs are known as masked ROMs, and these are hardwired devices. So MROM are hardwired devices, and already this contains a pre-programmed set of instructions. These are known as the masked ROM, and these are inexpensive. So the next one is programmable read-only memory, PROM. Programmable read-only memory. So PROM is read-only memory. It is also read-only memory. We can't write, we cannot modify, we cannot edit. So the user buys a blank PROM and enters the desired contents using PROM program. So we can buy it and we can put data into PROM. Inside the PROM chip there are small fuses which are burnt open during the programming. So you have to remember this abbreviation. PROM stands for programmable read-only memory. It can be programmed only once and is not erasable. And please remember, PROM is not erasable. Yes, this you have to remember, very important. PROM is not erasable. ಇದು ಇಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು erase ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಿಲ್ಲ. So next one is EPROM, erasable and programmable read-only memory. Yes, these abbreviations are very important. EPROM, erasable and programmable read-only memory. EPROM can be erased by exposing it to ultraviolet light. So in PROM we studied that we cannot erase the data. When it comes to EPROM, we can erase the data by using ultraviolet light for a duration of 40 minutes. So during programming, an electrical charge is trapped in an insulated gate region. The charge is retained for more than 10 years because the charge has no leakage path. So no need to remember it. Just remember, EPROM means erasable and programmable read-only memory, and here we can erase the data. Yes, the next one is EEPROM. EEPROM stands for electrically erasable and programmable read-only memory. Here we can erase the instruction and also we can reprogram it. So EEPROM is programmed and erasable electrically. Here also we are going to erase the data by using electrically, and also we can reprogram it about 10,000 times. Both erasing and programming take 4 to 10 milliseconds. And EEPROM, any location can be selectively erased, please remember, and programmed again. EEPROMs can be erased one byte at a time rather than erasing the entire chip. Hence the process of reprogram is flexible but slow here. So this is about today's session. In the next video we will discuss with other topics. Yes, I wish all the best to all.